Yujiro Hanma, the character who sits at the pinnacle of the Buckyverse, is now fighting a dude whose only height feat is breaking open this boulder with a kick. However, our boy Kehaya has done something very shocking. He kicked Yujiro through the roof of the dojo, and much more to discuss in today's video, as their fight seems to be over now, which is pretty cool. Before continuing, you have the opportunity to become an absolute mad lad by hitting that subscribe button, with of course more Baki content coming your way if you do so. Now, let's get into it. So regarding the fight itself, his name Kehaya, according to Yujiro, means he's fast with his kicks. So the fact of him destroying the boulder not being that impressive regarding Baki standards is kinda saved by this, as his whole thing isn't powerful kicks, it's fast kicks, which I guess is pretty cool about him. But regarding his whole interaction and fight with Yujiro, you gotta remember one important thing. Can you name a character, a fighting character in the Buckyverse, who when introduced, their first major fight in the series is against Yujiro? The most recent one that I can remember is Pickle, and his wasn't really a fight per se with Yujiro, it was more so a strength test and it didn't really go anywhere apart from that. Kehaya may be potentially the first character ever introduced in the Buckyverse whose first real opponent ends up being Yujiro, which is quite funny, but you gotta respect him regarding that. All the other characters normally interact with Baki or someone else first, and then they eventually get to Yujiro. For example, Sukuna, the prisoners, Masashi, stuff like that. But this time, it's this Yujiro, and he's the one who approached Kehaya, so yeah. Very interesting stuff regarding that. But Yujiro mentions that he's fast with his kicks, and of course, Yujiro wants to know just how fast he is. Regarding Kehaya's character as a whole, I actually quite enjoy it. After Yujiro made the connection of his name to having fast kicks, he goes on a rant regarding how someone's name doesn't equate to what they really are. Pretty much just talking shit about Yujiro's analogy there. And as he does that, he goes for a direct kick. However, of course, it doesn't hit Yujiro. Yujiro is way too fast, which seems to be a common trend throughout this fight. But from there, that's where the fight actually begins. A face-off of kicks. So of course, it's not a going all-out fight with Yujiro using everything he has. I didn't expect that to be the reality going into it. But let's see how skillful our boy Kehaya is when it comes to kicks. So of course, we need Yujiro to have a huge flex moment to begin the fight. Kehaya talks about how Yujiro isn't impressed by his fast kicks, and what Yujiro does, it seems as though he spits in Kehaya's eye and then sets up for a glorious Baki exclusive nut shot. And then Yujiro starts talking about how it doesn't really matter how fast kicks are. If you can't see it coming or it's invisible to you, it could be moving at a snail's pace and be more effective when it comes to a fight. But of course, we're talking about Yujiro here. He needs to flex as well. He grazes the nose of Kehaya, making him bleed quite a bit, and of course Yujiro's smug face. The faster kick looks much more cooler, you know, I'd love to see that. So Yujiro, while being aware it's about strategy, other stuff, if you can't see the kick coming, of course that's better than just a fast kick that you can see coming. But yeah, that's their first exchange. But then something kinda changes a little bit. Kehaya is aware of the reputation of the ogre as the #1 strongest character of all time. We've heard this a million times, just need to repeat that every chance we get. Realizing that this is indeed the Yujiro Hanma, the strongest creature of all time, and he's ready to fight it. We see Kehaya get a lot more serious. Of course, Yujiro's iconic stance, arms out, about to devour his prey. Love to see that as well. It's how we know Yujiro is, I guess, more serious as well. And then we have Kehaya unleashing his, I guess, movements or true kicking ability, which seems to look like Diff. So quite goofy if I'm being honest, but I guess it does show the insane speed of his kicks as well. But of course, their whole thing currently is testing the speed of each other's kicks, and once again, Yujiro is able to outspeed Kehaya in every regard and actually catch his kick with his foot. And currently, that's everything we have regarding the translations for the Baki manga. Now I'm going to talk about the rules for the new chapter, where I believe the fight actually concludes, And we do get some pretty fun stuff in this chapter as well. So let's get into it. So after Yujiro actually caught his kick, he's able to follow up and actually kick Yujiro through the roof of the dojo. So he actually outplayed Yujiro in this regard, but of course Yujiro just appears down the bottom, chilling, vibing, hands in pocket still, as really expected. And that most likely triggered the shit out of Yujiro within himself. So Yujiro is now, dead serious, isn't playing around with Kehaya whatsoever. Kehaya is sweating, tries to attack him. Yujiro absolutely blitzes him, ends up behind him, and then once again kicks Kehaya through the roof this time. And it seems like he goes much further than what Yujiro did from Kehaya's kick. And then we have this dude come back, pretty much saying, according to some rough translations, that Kehaya has gone home, and that is the end of the fight, unless these rough translations are wrong. He could be just knocked out. But yeah, that is the end of the fight. Kehaya having a very interesting initial interaction in the story. So as a whole, this fight was pretty unique, if I'm being honest. Didn't really expect this. Of course, regarding all the Jack stuff, I didn't even expect to see Kehaya return to the story. I thought the whole sumo stuff was over. Even though Kehaya is technically a sumo fighter, his fighting style is just strictly kicks. I much prefer that to, regular sumo fighters. Of course, his fated matches against Sukune in the future, due to both their ancestors having their legendary battle with Sukune winning. Maybe Kehaya, when he ends up fighting Sukune, is going to get that dub. But it seems as though Yujiro's fight with him is now over. I'm praying we cut to our boy Jack now, and we finally get his, big tournament arc going, as he called out everyone a few chapters ago. My current prediction is that Jack's first fight is going to be against Gaia. Out of everyone he called out, Gaia should currently be the weakest, so it makes sense for him to fight the weakest first, build up his way to eventually Yujiro or Baki, however that's going to go. But we're done with Yujiro for a bit, hopefully. Now it's time for the Jack Super Redemption arc to finally shine. And if you don't know, the chapters have been quite slow recently because Itagaki has been sick apparently. So praying for his health. But yeah, it seems as though Baki's back now. I hope we get the Jack stuff. This fight was pretty unique. It did show a different side of Yujiro, especially compared to stuff we've seen of him recently, especially, comparing it to his Sukune fight where he was absolutely triggered. But regarding the circumstances of the fight itself, it was Sukune who called out Yujiro, while in this instance, Yujiro just showed up to where Kehaya was and wanted to fight him. So that's pretty much my explanation for the difference in reaction to Yujiro facing both of them. And yeah, I wonder how he's going to react considering Jack's current rise in the story. That could be pretty interesting as well. But that's everything for today's video. As always, shout out to the mad lads who support the channel via the Patreon. And if you haven't already, check out all the other stuff in the description. If you need chapter links, of course, they're posted in the Discord. But yep, that's it guys. Peace.